Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to Lakers Extra Detailed. Uh, Mark Williams ends up getting sent back to Charlotte, and Dalton Connect and the 2030 swap and the 2031 first rounder come back to LA. So this is a very rare occurrence that's happened, that a trade gets rescinded. And usually, even if teams know that there's a player who has like an injury history, typically what ends up happening is they still sort of pass the physical, so sort of knowing that, hey, look, we know we're taking a little bit of a risk with this guy's injury, and whatnot when it comes to it. So um, for the Lakers to rescind the deal for Dalton Connect and Mark Williams means that they must have seen something really bad. Like there must have been something significantly worse with his body. That was the issue, and there was some really strange stuff happening in the back end. Jared Greenberg saying that there was a back issue with Mark Williams, and that was the reason why they didn't. That was the reason why the Charlotte dealt him. And then the Lakers coming out and saying that there was no issues with his back. That wasn't the reason why. So sounds like there was a little bit of sneaky play happening between the Hornets and the Lakers when it came to Mark Williams' injury issues, and it was enough for Rob Pelinka to rescind the deal altogether and fail the physical that Mark Williams took on. So that puts the Lakers in a little bit of a bind, and I think the general consensus from the fan base has been that our chances of contending for a title significantly decrease. So I'm in the camp of, hey, it sucks that Mark Williams isn't going to be on this team and that his injury risk was enough for the Lakers to rescind the deal. I think that certainly sucks. But I do think also to some degree that Mark Williams wasn't necessarily the guy, or him getting, I think rescinding the trade is the right decision organizationally if the risk is too high for him. So I think there should be a little bit of fairness played on both sides, in my opinion, when it comes to it. I don't think that's an easy decision to come to either. Like I don't think any organization would rescind a deal, because when that happens is very rare. Would rescind a deal unless they actually were concerned that this guy might not even be available next year or the year after if he gets hurt and stuff like that. And so you certainly don't want to, after landing Luca, landing Dorian Finney-Smith, the emergence of all the players post Anthony Davis being out. Uh, you don't want that you don't want a deal that gives out future assets for Mark Williams to end up hurting you. So I think from an organizational standpoint, I think the Lakers made the right decision. If his injury risk was significantly high, the way enough to rescind a deal. Again, it's a rare thing, so I would imagine it probably was, and it's not a risk that the Lakers were willing to take. I do agree with doing that. Now, I think the concern for most of the fans is like, oh, okay, I guess we're not going all in. I don't think it's the case that the Lakers are not going all in. I think the timing of everything that happened sort of puts them in a bind. And I know a lot of folks have been sharing data on Jackson Hayes and just the overall improvement by the Lakers. And so there is, I think, a little contextualization that I think is required. So that's why I wanted to record today's Lakers Extra Detailed. And one of the things I think that's worth taking a look into is just what's been happening since Anthony Davis has been out and since Dorian Finney-Smith and Vando have been available. Jackson Hayes has been starting, and to take a look at the data. So one of the things I wanted to share with this entire aspect of like not having a rebounder, a true big, a guy the size of Mark Williams. Obviously, there's the offensive aspect to it, which is the fact that Luca asked for sort of a rim runner, a guy who's more of a downhill big, who can screen solidly and then roll to the rim, finish plays above the rim, around the rim, that sort of thing. So obviously that's a huge thing that the Lakers sort of lose out on, because really the only lob threats that we have on this team right now are Jackson Hayes. Like that's pretty much exactly the only guy that we have. Chris. I was going to say Chris Boucher, but not Chris Boucher. Christian Koloko is also another guy who's sort of a rim runner. He's a taller player, but obviously his health is also something that's of concern. And his ability to be effective in his minutes is something of concern. I would imagine the Lakers might test it out. But there is something that I wanted to talk about as it relates to just the importance of a big. One of the reasons why I thought the Lakers should really go after a big, regardless of his ability to score the basket or be a lob threat or whatever it was because the Lakers needed size to deal with some teams that have a lot of size. So teams like Memphis that have Zach Edey, Houston that has Steven Adams, OKC that has Isaiah Hartenstein, and obviously Denver with Nikola Jokic. And then you have Minnesota and other teams too as well. One of the things that they cause issues with, a specific thing that the detailers know about, that a specific thing that the Lakers have issues with is single man box outs. Um, Teams that like to force the Lakers defensively to play 4 out, 1 in defense essentially, and there's like a single big man, like it'd be Steven Adams or Zach Edey, boxing out against whoever the biggest player was on the Lakers team at the time. So sometimes it would be Rui, sometimes it would be Jackson Hayes. We've seen different iterations of this. And when Anthony Davis was on the team, what would typically happen is there would be some issues with the size disadvantage. And so because of the size disadvantage, the Lakers really needed a big. Now they've tried to sort of experiment with Trey Jameson in this role. Trey can box out. If you've seen the video that I did previously on Trey Jameson, he's a two-way player. He's not like, he's like a Vetman player. He's not a world beater, but he's a big dude. Like he's built like a Roblox character, basically. If you've ever seen him, broad shoulders, very heavy. He puts his hands on players and you see them go flying in different directions. Physical guy. The Lakers have experimented with him, and they played him in different spots. They played him against Indiana, where he had a productive game, and so it's very interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how they figure that out, because I think that's still a hole that the team has. They have to find a guy who's physically strong enough and physically burly enough, whatever word you would use, right? Like I like to use the word goon or the word grunt, the original meaning of the word goon, by the way. And I like to talk about just kind of the kind of guy you need. And Jameson, his physicality and mentality sort of fits that role, but he's not really like a skilled NBA player. Like I don't know where his IQ is not quite there. He does rack up fouls super fast because of that lack of IQ. So I don't think he's a long-term solution. Christian Koloko, again, the guy who's a little bit light in his weight, and though he has great length, it might cause issues in terms of him getting bullied underneath the paint. So I think the Lakers are probably going to hope for a buyout situation, and hopefully somebody becomes available that can sort of handle those single man box outs. Now, the reason why I'm focusing on single man box outs is because that's quite literally what we need. We don't necessarily need a guy who can box out and rebound, especially with Vando coming back, DFS, Rui, LeBron, Luca. Like the Lakers have a lot of size now on the wings, and one thing that they've done is they've gotten the drop off with not having Anthony Davis on the team over the past 5 games hasn't affected their rebounding. If anything, it's gotten very slightly better. And so I wanted to share some data in regards to that to help sort of present the idea of what it is that I was talking about. So if we take a look at just holistically what's happened with the Lakers since Anthony Davis has gone down, in the past we played 5 games without Anthony Davis, starting with the Washington game. We played Washington, the Knicks, the Clippers, and then we played Indiana, and I totally forgot which team we played right before that. But we've gone 5-0 in those games, and I think a lot of Laker fans probably expected us to go 2-2. I myself thought like maybe we could see like that Knicks game and go 2-1 when we went Washington, Knicks, Clippers, and the Lakers have been phenomenal. Like they've been just rolling teams. Like we played the Warriors. That's who it was. The Lakers have really been kicking butt, and I think the core reason for that is because the speed of the team has increased defensively, and the effort has increased defensively because the team is hyper aware that they don't have Anthony Davis to grab all the rebounds for them anymore, and that they can just be lazy and leak out and whatnot. And so the end result of that over the past 5 games is the Lakers have been like the number 2 net rating team during that time. And it's not only on the offensive end. You can see that their offensive rating here has increased to the second best, but their defensive rating has skyrocketed from what it was before. And, you could argue that it's Vando's impact, which it certainly can be. But I think guys like Rui have stepped up. I think guys like DFS have stepped up. They've gotten really good contributions from even LeBron defensively in games. Jackson Hayes has been phenomenal in games. And then, like I said, in spot minutes, guys like Trey Jameson have been helpful too as well. So that's certainly a thing, like that's certainly the overall improvement. It's also one of those things where teams are seeing a new version of the Lakers and they're not used to it, so they don't know what to really expect. And sorry, I forgot to mention Gabe Vincent's also been phenomenal defensively for the Lakers too, as well. On top of his shooting, really kicking butt. And so the whole team as a collective has improved defensively. Like they're all playing better defensively and with better effort. And I feel like JJ Redick, Coach JJ, is pushing the right buttons that are allowing the Lakers to do that. But what's actually happening with the rebounding? Because that's a huge issue in the playoffs. I'm of the old school mindset that shooting isn't what wins it for you in the playoffs. It's defense and rebounding. The better defense and rebounding you have, the higher likelihood, the higher your floor is to actually winning a championship. And though we've seen, you can see here, the Lakers have actually really improved their defensive play over the past 5 games against competitive teams too, mind you, not just poor teams and against bad teams. But what's actually happened with like their rebounding, and so that's the thing that I wanted to highlight. And I'll tie this back to the single man box out, which is what I wanted to share was this. So if we switch over and we take a look at the Lakers half court defense over this same stretch, opponents have been grabbing on an average of about 27.8% of their misses, which is about like right at league average, slightly above league average. And the reason why that number is really important is because if that number was significantly lower, like if it was like way down, if we were like the bottom 10, you see like Brooklyn over here, 34%, that would be a cause of concern for me. Like, because that clearly indicates that losing Anthony Davis, even from an analytical standpoint, losing Anthony Davis over these past 5 games has basically green lighted opposing teams to be able to grab more rebounds. And it would also a little bit translate, like I would have to start pulling tape to see why is it that's happening. Is there somebody who's not doing their jobs in helping crash the glass and whatnot? So if you've watched Laker games during this time, you've seen that the Lakers have actually done, like, a lot of their guys are scrapping. Vando had a 15 rebound game against the Warriors. Like, very clearly there's like a concerted effort. I think Braun had like 17 rebounds against the Warriors. There's a concerted effort to help with rebounding. And I think that all happens because you have guys making shots. So now LeBron doesn't have to expend as much energy on offense, so he can help rebound defensively. Also, or later into the season, so LeBron might be getting into his sort of playoff mode and kind of warming up to what it is that's coming out. Luka hasn't played yet, so he's going to help lower the offensive burden for so many players and allow them to be effective defensively and rebounding. So the reason why I wanted to bring up this stat is this half court rebounding number. It's about league average, 27.8%. And if we actually go forward and we take a look at what that number was when Anthony Davis was on the team, the number was 28.5%. So what we're actually seeing here is that the Lakers defense has improved since Anthony Davis has been gone, and we aren't giving offensive rebounds up at a higher clip, which is great because that means that, the core thing that we relied on Anthony Davis for, obviously defense, that's gone up with in his absence. But then not only has that gone up in this absence, we haven't been hurt by his lack of size or his ability to not be there. So I think this entire thing of I think the adjustment, not being able to get Mark Williams for the team is that they're going to have to be a gang rebounding team. Like the whole team is going to have to rebound the basketball. It's not going to be something that's going to be fixed by one person and one person only. And it's not going to be two guys. It's not going to be Vando's just going to step in and be the guy that does it. I think the entire team is going to have to work together to rebound. And for the most part, the entire team is doing that. I think they're all collectively pitching in different ways. And whether it's boxing out a specific responsibility on the low man rotation, or if it's just crashing the glass from the perimeter, which a lot of guys are doing too as well. DFS, I've seen him do it. Gabe's done it. Austin's done it. Vando clearly's done it. Rui had like 8 rebounds in the first half of the Indiana game, so he's doing it too to some degree. And that's not including getting Luka to help us with rebounding or LeBron getting us to help us with rebounding. So I think the team rebounding idea is there. If JJ is telling them, hey, you've got to rebound as a team, we don't have Anthony Davis anymore, I think that message is landing. The only thing I'm concerned about, and this is where I try to loop it back for everybody to understand, is the single man box out. What happens when teams put 4 guys on the perimeter who you have to respect, and there's a single man? And let's say the guy is not an offensive threat. It's not Nikola Jokic. Let's say it's Steven Adams or something like that. The Lakers do need to find a guy who can deal with that kind of person, because that kind of player can create a lot of issues for the team in terms of just winning that single man box out, like that single man battle in the paint, and happening to get to the offensive rebound before another Laker teammate can help out. And so that role specifically is like the way I always just like to describe it is just a big dude who's ready to wrestle. Like we need a grunt that's like ready to wrestle with like whoever that person's going to be. And I think Jackson's done a phenomenal job as a starter, but situationally, especially in the playoffs, situationally you're going to need that guy because I don't think Jackson's going to be able to do it, just because he's a lighter weight guy. And so if you can get a guy, if the Lakers can, instead of focusing on like, oh, who's the Mark Williams replacement, I think the Lakers just have to focus on who's the biggest, strongest dude that we can get, that we can say, yo, your job is just to go box that dude out and make sure that he doesn't get offensive rebounds. If they can find somebody that can do that, I think they'll be in a much better space. And I like that's one part of the can we win the championship that we can cross off. Like you're not going to find somebody who can take care of being a rim runner and being a great box out guy and be super skilled in the paint to punish mismatches and stuff like that. You're not going to find all of those things in one player right now, especially not on the buyout market, barring anybody extraordinary becoming available. But if you can find a guy to just help you with that part, that very specific thing that's hurt the Lakers a lot, especially when Anthony Davis was on the bench, I think you can continue to raise the floor. I trust LeBron and Luca and Austin Reeves' ability to score the basketball on offense. So I don't think we really need offense out of that big man position outside of finishing open looks and plays, which I think most big men can do for the most part. So I'll be interested in seeing what they have to do, but thinking like very, very critically and thinking in like very hardcore detail, I think that's the direction the Lakers should go in. I think they should try to find a guy that really helps in that department specifically with single man box outs against heavy bigs. Not a guy that has to play the entire time, but a guy that you can deploy situationally. The Lakers have been trying to do that with Trey Jameson, and it's yielded like sometimes it's great results. Sometimes it's like, he's just collecting fouls, but you still need that guy. And so I don't know what the end result is going to be. There's a lot of time. There's also a little bit of misinformation about buyouts. People have been sharing, not misinformation, maybe they just don't know. But the Lakers can waive Christian Wood and waive Cam Reddish if they need to, which is who I would expect them to waive if both of those players are sort of dead bodies on the roster. And sign guys. And veteran minimums are prorated, so like the longer you wait, the lower the cap hit becomes. And the Lakers have like I think the playoff eligibility deadline is like the March 20th, so they have a lot of time. And you never know. Like some agent right now, what's probably happening is the agents for players who are expiring this year, who are going to be free agents, are probably doing their groundwork for next year. They're going around asking, hey, where do we think that this guy can land? This guy was like a $5 million player or a $10 million player. Is he going to be able to get that? Is the team that he's on willing to offer him something closer to that? And if it turns out that some of these guys realize that they're just veteran minimum guys, they might just say, hey, they might go to the incumbent team and be like, hey, we need to, do you mind buying me out? Most of these teams will do that. And they can take a bigger role with the Lakers and gain more visibility with the Lakers, especially if it's a team that's on its way out. So, we're looking at guys like, you're probably looking at guys like Larry Nance Jr. You're looking at guys like Chris Boucher. You're probably looking at guys like, I think Daniel Tice was named. If Jericho Sims ends up getting waived or asking to get bought out because he's basically a vet minimum player right now, if Jericho asks to get waived, like that would be great. Like he's a strong, athletic kid, and I like to always say he's like the evolved version of Jackson Hayes because he's bigger, stronger than him, but he's like a rim running guy, just like Jackson is. Not crazy high IQ, but a great athlete. Like if that's a guy that could become available, that would be like a huge get for the Lakers to come off the bench because he kind of fit the role, the rim running role that you want for Luka Doncic, and he's a strong guy that can help wrestle with other guys. So that's probably the guy that I would like dark horse hope that becomes available. But I do know that the Bucks traded a second rounder for him, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So they probably want to keep him long term. But we'll see. But you never know what ends up being the situation. But that's what I think the Lakers should do. Look for a strong, big wrestling grunt dude to help with single man box outs, and that can handle that. And if they can do that, I think they'll be in a great position to make an extended run into the playoffs, assuming everybody's healthy, and everything is everybody's able to help the lineup out. Outside of that, the Lakers have been playing great. They've got 5 in a row. Let's make it 6 in a row, and let's just keep it going. Luka's going to make his debut, and then we're going to integrate him into it. And I think it's an exciting time to be a Lakers basketball fan. Unfortunately, I tweeted that, and like hours later, the Mark Williams trade got rescinded. But I still think it's really great. We're watching really great Lakers basketball. We're watching a team that's like really like in tune with each other, and we're going to integrate like a top two player into this now. So I'm very excited to see what happens and how much floor raising, ceiling raising Luka Doncic does for us. So as always, folks, if you can like, share, and subscribe, that helps with the video. That helps with the channel. I really appreciate it. I have a special message. We've actually broken the 1,000 subscriber threshold for YouTube. That doesn't. I'm not going to turn on monetization or anything like that. But I just want to mention it because I want to thank people. I want to thank everybody, all the detailers who've helped us get to this point, because it's a really important milestone for me, and it's a really important milestone for Lakers Detailed. And I think this doesn't happen if it's not thanks to you guys. I'm going to record a special message for all the folks, and I'll post it on X because I have some really cool stuff that I want to do with all the detailers. So if you can like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it, I'd appreciate it. And you know what? If nothing else, if you watch this during the day or you watch this in the evening, I hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.